Thank you for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got an Amazon Associates 2-site business package for sale in the beauty and personal care niche. Created in September 12 and November 2015, this business makes $4,191 per month in net profit, and the listing number for the business is 44817. We do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the businesses they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Lou, thank you for taking the time to come on here today.
Appreciate it, Jake. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. I am looking forward to hearing your story and what's led us here today. But before we get to that, I want to go ahead and run through a little quick summary of the business. Again, the businesses were built in September 2012 and November 2015. Has a monthly revenue of $4,372, expenses of $181 to make for a net profit of $4,191, which is generated on a 10-month average. Included in the sale of this business are the primary domain and all site content and files for both sites and social media accounts. Lou, can you give us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses and how it's led you here today?
Sure. So my background, I've come from the corporate world and corporate banking and spent 12 years in that industry. Went through a few acquisitions myself over the years. The most recent acquisition that I went through sort of led me down the path of some of these internet businesses. And I kept track of them online with a financial background. You know, the recurring revenue model was fascinating to me. So it encouraged me to basically build my own little tiny microsite on the side just to see if these websites could actually generate money. I was successful in that very tiny website, and that gave me confidence to continue to look into some larger opportunities that were out there. And that's ultimately what led me to Empire Flippers and the purchase of these two sites, which originally I acquired from Empire Flippers about a year ago.
So when you were looking at these websites a year ago, why did they stand out to you as, businesses worth buying?
So I was looking for websites that had a few attributes, the biggest one being that they were entirely white hat developed. That was really what my background was. I was familiar with that style of website building. It also fit my profile of being more conservative and cautious with investing in new websites. On top of that, I really liked the niche. I thought there was a number of opportunities to further develop some of the keywords that were out there. It looked like there were quite a few very low competition competitors that were in the industry at that time. So to me, it made a lot of sense going forward. It also struck me as there were opportunities because of the website size where there might be opportunities to put on a marketing hat and potentially develop some relationships with some of the actual brands within that niche.
So then looking at where we are today, why have you decided to sell them again?
So what I ran into was at the time I had purchased the websites, we were acquired by another company. And I was very unsure what my future was going to hold and, what direction I was going to go to just with my day job. To me, the websites were an opportunity to sort of hedge my bets a little bit. About a year later, I've continued on with the day job and my responsibilities have increased a little bit. It's gotten to the point where early on I was able to balance having a day job and sort of a night/weekend job. But the longer I've done that, it's become more challenging to do. And to me, it made sense to look into selling the business just strictly for basically burning the candle on both sides.
When you look back over the last year, there was a dip in August. Can you explain what happened then?
Sure. That was actually when I purchased the website originally from the original owner. And so that transaction happened roughly about between the first and second week of August of last year. So the revenue that you're looking at is really just the revenue that when I took ownership of the website from that portion of the month onward. So it really doesn't represent a full month of revenue.
When talking about what you do on the sites now, it's been 10 months to a year. It's been, let's just call it a year since you purchased the websites. And you can see that you've managed to grow them a little bit. So how have you managed to do that so the new owner can keep doing it?
So the original owner had a really good relationship with a single writer. And she was very active in the website and created content for both of the websites. She was very familiar with the products, and she had the ability to write very comprehensive and detailed articles supporting the website. So working with her was very easy in the transition, and I know she would be very interested in continuing to move forward. She's familiar with the website and the audience, and she does really good work.
How often is content added to the sites currently?
Currently, I've been adding a new article approximately once a month with each website. And that's really purely a function of, my time constraints. When I initially took over the website, I was more active in the content side of it. And, I've sort of slowly stepped back a little bit and, have just gotten into about the once a month pattern. But I've had two approaches with the content. One was to further develop existing articles and then also to target new keywords that were out there within the niche.
What exactly do you do for the site on a weekly basis other than the content side of things?
So I keep track of other competitors that are out there. I have an Excel spreadsheet, and number one, I keep track of other competitors that are within the niche, and I look for other keywords within that the other competitors that are lower, weaker competitors, what they're ranking for. And I look to take advantage of some of those keywords. So I keep a running list of keywords that are out there. And then I've also looked for opportunities to continue link building. Those are the two primary, the two primary things I tended to focus on.
And if you had to quantify the number of hours that entails, what would you say?
It's probably in the range of about 2 to 3 hours a week.
If you were to keep both of the websites and focus on growth, where do you see the major opportunities?
The major opportunities are with link building and developing a relationship with brands. And both of those activities, they require some additional time because you have to develop some email outreach, and you have to essentially you're creating a little bit of a pitch with each of these brands, as well as with the link building. And those two activities could have a significantly positive impact on the site, but they do require some additional time investment. And that's the biggest obstacle I've run into is I just don't have the additional time to do those two things consistently. But that's where I would start.
Of the two sites, do they split pretty evenly the revenue for the business, or does one site grossly outperform the other?
Now, the site that has been in existence longer generates the majority of the revenue. I want to say offhand, very rough numbers, roughly about 60-40 within that range.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel like there are any potential risks associated with this business that a new owner should be aware of?
There's always the risk of Google changing their algorithm. That's a risk with every business in this content-based business. And there's also the possibility that some of the larger companies could come into some more of the markets. The companies, want to say some of the larger publishers that have the generic best review type websites that are funded by companies like Hearst Media. There's a potential for them to come more into the market. There has been a little bit of that's been out there, but the best way that I've seen to manage that is those companies or those competitors tend to focus more superficial based content. And if you can develop more in-depth content, that so far has seemed to be an effective way to mitigate some of that risk.
Is there a potential opportunity to grow beyond the Amazon Associates platform? I mean, are there other affiliate programs or platforms that you could promote to?
There are, and I haven't looked too in-depth within those programs. The other approach you could take with that is you could reach out directly to certain brands that have higher volume. And I initially made some very general inquiries early on, and there was definitely interest on the other side. It was one of those situations where I had a discussion, but I just wasn't able to follow it through.
If you could go back 10 months to when you purchased these sites, or even if you were to start another Amazon Associates site, what is a big piece of advice that you wish you had known starting out?
It probably has to do with time management, and it's almost of keeping a sort of a working or ongoing list of the major activities or the major revenue drivers that you have for the site and trying to focus more systematically on those as you go down the list. Because as you go into these websites, there's so many different directions that you can go into and in terms of how you spend your time. And you almost need to really keep a list of the most valuable uses of your time so you can make yourself more, as efficient as possible.
Would you commit to a non-compete?
Absolutely.
And how much support are you willing to give to the owner during the transition period?
I'd be happy to provide as much support as they would find helpful. I'm, very open to that.
Are you open to discussing something like an earnout?
Sure, with the right level of interest and the right offer, that would absolutely be something I would be open to.
Lou, thank you so much for taking the time to come on with me today. I do have another question for you. Before we get to that, though, I want to go ahead and run through that quick summary of the business again. The businesses were built in September 2012 and November 2015. Has a monthly revenue of $4,372, expenses of $181 to make for net profit of $4,191, which is generated on a 10-month average. Included in the sale of this business are the primary domain and all site content and files for both sites and social media accounts. Lou, if you had to put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you feel like the business was worth buying 10 months ago, and especially now? Why is it worth buying?
The biggest thing I liked about the site was that it was a completely white hat developed site. And so in my mind, it felt like, the most conservative direction as a site builder who hasn't been in the industry maybe as long as some of the other competitors out there. And so the way the site is structured, I think it's very easy for someone to come in and continue to grow the site. And on top of that, the primary site has been around for a number of years. And so you have a site that Google is comfortable with and has some age to it. And those were two of the biggest factors. And factor number 3, I would say, is the niche itself. I think this is a niche that has stable demand, and there's a variety of additional products that continue to come to the market. And there's many opportunities to further grow the content in a variety of different keywords that are out there.
Lou, thank you so much for taking the time today. I think the thing is that 10 months ago, these sites were worth purchasing because clearly there was a buyer in you. But now you've grown them more from where they were, so now they're extra worth buying, right?
Absolutely.
Lou, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the time, Jake.
If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. And if you want more information, the link will be below the video that will take you to this marketplace listing. If you're watching this on the listing site and want more information, become a depositor today. When you make the deposit, one of our business advisors will be in contact with you. You'll be given everything you need to review this business. Have a great day.